your thoughts and hold them tightly. Let each one an honor be.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a musician and composer, and I want to get inspired by composers of the past. It's often said to develop your own compositional voice, you should mimic and learn from the great composers of the past. This week, I want to do that with one of my favorite romantic composers, Franz Schubert. Franz Schubert was an Austrian composer born in 1797. Even at a young age, his musical talents were obvious to his family. He learned how to play piano, violin, and organ all before attending any music school. He was also a great singer. His first formal education was at the Staatskonvent, which trained young singers to eventually sing in the chapel choir of the Imperial Royal Court. In 1808, Schubert received a scholarship to sing in this choir. At the Staatskonvent, Schubert met many of his first mentors, aside from his family, including the prolific composer Antonio Salieri, the guy who poisoned Mozart. Just kidding. Salieri taught Schubert composition before and after his time studying. Eventually, Schubert left the Staatskonvent and became a school teacher for a while. During this time, he was still writing and growing a small local fan base for his work. After about 4 years, he decided to pursue music full-time in 1818. Schubert continued composing and writing music up until his death in 1828. He was 31. His music, while liked in his time, wasn't recognized for the genius it was until after his death. And Schubert wrote a lot of music. Like, a lot of music. In his short life, he wrote 7 complete symphonies, 4 operas, a ton of sacred music, 2 song cycles, and over 600 secular vocal pieces. His music is characterized by beautiful melody, thematic use of harmony, and storytelling ability through the music alone. For this week, I want to see if I can dive into the music of Schubert and write a Schubert-style composition that would make him proud. To make this easier on myself, I've decided to focus on one genre of his writing, the German lieder or German song. I'm currently studying music as a classical vocalist, so these pieces are the most interesting to me, and I'm also the most comfortable with them. That narrows it down to still 600 pieces. With my goal for the week in mind, the first thing I had to do was immerse myself in Schubert's music. So I've got the complete Schubert lieder on my iPad. I'm going to be listening through the book and playing what I can to get the music in my ears and in my hands. I've also got Google Translate on a laptop and an elementary understanding of German to help with the text. I've actually sung a few pieces from Schubert's song cycle Die schöne Müllerin. And I'm working on a couple now for an upcoming recital. Schubert writes really fun melodies to sing, but they can sound really weird without the accompaniment. So when you put the accompaniment and the voice together, it just makes sense. I think all his years as a chorister really shaped his compositional ear as a writer for voice. So, like I said, Schubert was a master of using music to thematically enhance the text. In one of his super popular songs, El König, or The Elf King, Schubert has to write for 4 different characters that are all speaking throughout the piece. A narrator, a father who's riding through the woods with his son, the son who's scared of being captured by the Elf King in the woods, and the Elf King himself. To differentiate who's speaking, each verse is put into a different tonality and register for the one singer to perform. The son sings in a high minor key to accentuate his young age and how scared he is of the Elf King. The father sings in a lower major key to calm his son, but eventually shifts into a minor tonality when he himself gets nervous about what's happening.
Dein Gesicht, mein Sohn, ich sehe es genau, es scheinen die alten Weiden so grau.
You could also make a point that the piano is playing the character of the horse running through the woods, signified by fast octaves in the right hand and a haunting melody in the left hand. My favorite part of this piece is one of the Elf King's verses. Up until now, we've heard him sing only in a soft major key, trying to coerce the son into being captured. The Elf King ends his last verse by saying if he needs to, he will take the son by force. And on the word force, the Elf King shifts into a minor key for the first time in the piece.
Ich liebe dich, mich reizt deine schöne Gestalt, und bist du nicht willig, so brauch ich Gewalt. Mein Vater, jetzt
It's a pretty straightforward use of harmony, but it works so well. The YouTuber Sideways has a video talking about this piece in a lot more detail, which I'll link in the description if you're interested. I want to keep these ideas in mind while I start writing music to the text that I picked. During this week, I also wanted to learn a little bit more about Schubert as a person, not just as a musician. I thought that learning about his lifestyle and routine would help me figure out his musical tendencies. Schubert's lifestyle was very bohemian. In Harold C. Schoenberg's The Lives of Great Composers, he says that Schubert was always poor, never really lived anywhere. He would crash at friends' houses and use their pianos if he needed to, because he never actually owned one until later in his life. I think a lot of Schubert's lifestyle comes out in his music. He's not afraid to take risks or explore theatrical emotion in his compositions. For this week, I'm only focusing on writing music, not poetry, so for the text of the piece, I took to the internet to find something inspiring and free. A big influence over what Schubert wrote was actually the text he set his music to. With this in mind, I wanted to look for text that immediately inspired me without costing anything. I just searched public domain poems and poets.org came up, so I'm gonna spend some time looking around there and see what I can find. Okay, so I think I narrowed it down to two that I really like. One is To the River by Edgar Allan Poe, and the second one is called Thoughts by Myra Viola Wilds. Now, I like the Edgar Allan Poe one, but it feels very on the nose. Fair river, in thine bright clear flow of crystal wandering water, thou art an emblem of the glow of beauty, the unhidden heart, the playful mazeness of art, and old Alberto's daughter. It gives off a very Mill Cycle vibe, so I'm leaning towards the other one. It's not sad necessarily, it's more of a somber tone. It's about no matter who you are, what you've done, your thoughts are who you really are, and you want to hold on to them. Catch your thoughts and hold them tightly, let each one in honor be. Purge them, scourge them, burnish brightly, then in love set each one free. So I'm hearing a very somber tone to a major hopeful note at the end, which I think is very Schubert-esque. We'll see. I think I'm going to go with this one. I think I'm going to choose Thoughts. So I'm starting to actually write the music for the piece, and I've got a lot of ideas going on of what I want to add. I definitely want to start with a minor key with some sort of wandering accompaniment to match what the words are saying. Then there's a section of the text where the author asks if your thoughts are bright and sort of these happy visions. So I wanted to make it more happy and bright. And something Schubert does a lot is he'll just take whatever minor key he's in and go to the parallel major. So we're in D minor, then we jump into D major. Pretty simple, but I like it. Analyzing Schubert this week, I found a ton of techniques that he likes to use. But he doesn't use every technique for every piece. Most of his songs were just that. Short, simple ideas that conveyed the text without being bogged down by a ton of theory or complicated chord harmony. Simple but effective. This is just a song. It's got 3 verses, it's pretty quick. I'm not going to throw every idea into this piece, and I think that'll make it stronger overall. The text is pretty straightforward, so the music should be too. Another thing I wanted to be aware of while writing the actual score was how much detail was left to the interpretation of the players. So I tried to keep it really bare with my directions. We have like a piano marking here, mezzo piano in the voice, not a whole lot of detail going on. With the music written, now I had to record it. My friend Baylee is a classically trained soprano and was kind enough to lend her voice to the project. I'll link her social media in the description. Make sure to follow her.
What kind of thoughts now do you carry in your travels, day by day? Are they bright and lofty visions, or neglected, gone astray? Matters not how great in fancy and though high may be his station, is no better than his thoughts. Catch your thoughts and hold them tightly, let each one an honor be. Purge them, scorch them, burnish brightly. Then in love set each one free.
So I've had time to edit and listen to the track, and I'm really happy of how the song turned out. Listening through it, it does still sound a little bit modern for Schubert, but I thought I wrote a lot of his techniques, how he would use them. I definitely think I learned a lot about Schubert's composing style, but I also think I learned a lot about him as a person, which is equally important. Events in a composer's life shape their artistic mindset, and no music or any art is detached from the culture that person lived in. This project gave me both compositional perspective as well as worldly perspective, which I really appreciate. Overall, I thought this was a great learning experience, and I definitely have a couple more tricks in my composer's tool belt to use on other projects. But what do you think? Do you think I captured Schubert's sound, or did I miss the mark? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if there's another composer you want me to imitate, you can put that in the comments too. If you like this video, give it a like, and make sure to subscribe if you want to keep up to date with when my next video comes out. Thanks for watching.
What kind of thoughts now do you